The rules of the game have changed. Good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are. Awesome ambassadors of light, love, healing, trust, and redemption, with the attitude of abundant gratitude, powerful souls and high vibes human beings with infinite potential, quantum leapers into unknown, ushering Geula right here, right now. Worthy announcers of the most joyous news ever to hit this planet. The announcements of redemption of King Moshiach, also known as Lubavitcher Rebbe, the messenger from God and the prophet of the generation. Let's silence the static in your head by getting into the now and settling your body down into the present moment. Become aware of your breath. Exhale deeply and forcefully out to clear the lungs from air. Move your attention from the brain into the body by touching your heart. Inhale slowly and gently into it. Open it up and fill it with love. And exhale slowly and deeply with a gratitude to Almighty. Dear and loving God, thank you for granting me the serenity to accept Geula redemption here and now as the only true reality, for giving me the courage to change my galut, exile, duplicity mindset to Geula unity consciousness, and the wisdom to know how to publicize this truth of unfolding redemption to the world, as the prophet of our generation, King Moshiach, Lubavitcher Rebbe, instructed.
You see, friends, it's not so easy to deal with good news. Sometimes people become experts in dealing with challenging news. They don't know how to deal with good news. It's hard for people. Yeah. They say an old story, Israel was struggling with its economy years ago. So the Knesset had an emergency meeting. What do we do to build up Israel's economy? Today, Baruch Hashem, it's better. Pretty good, actually. So an old man stands up. He says, I have a great idea. Let's learn from Japan and Germany. Let's declare war on the United States of America. What will America do? They'll wipe us out. And then Americans feel guilty. They'll rebuild us into an economic superpower. Look what they did with Japan. They did it with Germany. That's how we'll save our economy. One Alta Yid, one older Jew, gets up, scratching his forehead. He says, there's one problem. What happens if we win the war? This is a problem. It's a mentality. Sometimes you have to know how to get the good news.
Several months after the Six-Day War, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, then without a title of King Moshiach, prophesied the triumphant victory. Right after the war, the whole world recognized the hand of God in those miraculous events, and the Rebbe said that there was never such a revelation since Mount Sinai. But he immediately warned certain government officials in America and Israel, right after those spectacular victories, that Israeli politicians were already contemplating to appease the nations and give away the control over the territories that Jews won in that war. Those warnings fell on deaf ears, and for decades, until today, we're witnessing firsthand the very painful results of not listening to the prophet of the generation. Jumping 30 years ahead, the following excerpt is taken from the article by Rabbi Tzvi Homnik in a popular Lubavitch publication, Beis Mashiach, heralding the news of Mashiach and redemption, issue number 75, in 1996. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, King Moshiach, says we have now reached the time when we have to make the transition from the means to the end. The time of your redemption has come means that our job has changed. Instead of preparing the groundwork for redemption, we now have an entirely different job, revealing the redemption which is already here. We can understand this by way of the following analogy. a king sends his army to conquer the city. His army is victorious and the king becomes the ruler of the city. However, his rule is imposed simply as a result of his conquest. He has not yet been accepted by the people. His own soldiers must stop fighting and begin to persuade the former enemies of the advantages of accepting his kingdom. Our mission is to build God's kingdom in this world. Exile is the long, difficult process, the battle by which we achieve victory. Step by step, through our Torah and its commandments, we've been conquering the world. Now the battle is over. If we're still fighting, we're wasting our time. The Rebbe King Moshiach has stated that the other side is already aware of this. The problem is the winning side is not convinced. He says that even the Gentiles are ready. In the mid-80s, the Rebbe King Moshiach said that one can teach the oneness of God to non-Jews already, which can only be learned in the world to come, and that is now. And yet some of us are still fighting, while others are busy surrendering to the losing side. It's time for the king to make his grand appearance and ride in the victory parade. But we haven't prepared the streets of the city. Even if we don't see the complete redemption with our own eyes, the declaration of the Rebbe King Moshiach, the time of your redemption has come, indicates a complete change in the rules. If we use the old exile approach, we're preparing ourselves and others for a battle which has already ended. It's no longer us against the world. It is our mission to bring this proclamation to all humanity in a positive and compelling way. So should we talk about Mashiach, his identity, etc.? If we have reached this point, what else is there to talk about? If we continue to teach Torah and its commandments as means to refine and conquer the universe, we move away from the redemption and not towards it, God forbid. That's the end of the article. The same Lubavitcher Rebbe, who prophetically predicted in details the miraculous outcome of the Six-Day War, including the warnings and the painful surrender of control over the territories the Jews so spectacularly conquered at such a heavy price, that same Rebbe, already with the title of King Moshiach in 1991-1992, prophesied the end of the spiritual battle for this world, which is now redeemed. His instructions was to publicize this long-awaited, most joyous news far and wide. Could Rabbi Tzvi Homnik even imagine in his wildest dreams that after 26 years since he wrote his awesome article, today many Jews would be still fighting their own internal war with doubts, fears, and reservations regarding such needed publicity of the joyously prophetic announcements of redemption? The rules of the game have changed, and those that are not with the program are out for lunch at best, or doing the opposite of what needs to be done. Sages tell us that every day a heavenly voice, Bat Kol, issues forth from Mount Sinai, calling for a return to the truth of truths. Today is 31 years, 4 weeks, and 6 days, which is 11,371 days, since King Moshiach, Lubavitcher Rebbe, the messenger from God, announced this prophetic truth. God is still waiting. Are you game? Dare to share if you care. Shavua Geula Tov. Geula, 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 Mashiach Bam. Mashiach כבר בא בשירה וזמרה, Mashiach כבר בא יזכה בגאולה. Redemption here and now, Geula פה עכשיו, Mashiach пришел, Geulu привел, Geula, Geula.